England versus India. The Cricket Badger Test Match Daily Podcast. Can Joe Root's England dominate on home soil? 5 mouth-watering test matches. Can Virat Kohli's India conquer the final frontier? Loving to talk test cricket every day.
Hello, and many congratulations to Team India, winners at the Oval by 157 runs. It was a quite compelling and convincing final day performance in the end, despite the fact that Rory Burns and Hasib Hamid got England off to a very good start. It was wickets galore. Jasprit Bumrah and et al. Getting all of the wickets today, and the final wicket falling just a few moments ago to seal victory and to take India 2-1 up in the series. I am joined today by 2 Indian Badgers. We have Anand Beaker and Raj Yadav on the line today, and you two must be quite happy, I guess. Let's start with you, Raj. Coming into today, obviously all results were possible, weren't they? And I actually thought the draw was a real contender today. I never thought England would maybe get the runs. I thought that the draw might be a possibility with that slow surface, but India found a way.
Definitely, and Test cricket has to be the best format. Going on to day 5, all 3 results possible. India win, England win, and a draw was also likely on the cards. If you ask me as a fan, what was I expecting? Definitely, I would want India to win, but I was not expecting this to happen so fast, immediately after the second session itself. What Burns and Hamid did last evening to get them around a good start, having 67 for no loss at the board. And then after the first session, today when they lost just 1 wicket of Burns and that David Malan run out just before the stroke of lunch, I was also under the impression that, a draw is definitely on the cards, because maybe India would pick 1 or 2 wickets here and there, and then England would steady the ship. But then, then came in Bumrah. He had different plans. He bowled a magnificent spell, and it was just magic to watch Bumrah bowl, because he completely took the pitch out of equation. And only a special spell like that of Bumrah could have produced this. I'm totally elated, totally happy.
And let's talk about Jasprit Bumrah. Umar Shadav actually took more wickets in that England second innings, but it was that spell. And somebody tweeted it was like a tennis score. His analysis for that 6-over spell was 6-3, 6-2. You're a tennis fan, Anand. He's the star of the Mumbai Indians, which is our team in the IPL, and the star of the day really for India, wasn't he? He opened the door, kicked it open.
He really did. And I think part of that is, what Raj alluded to. You got to take the pitch out of the question here. You need to get that pace. These are conditions that India is used to bowling in. And when you have that elevated pace, you can get some reverse swing going. I think the Indian pace attack was more suited to today's pitch than, maybe a green pitch, which, swings around, So I think this was really kind of played to India's strengths. All of the bowlers are faster than what we see with the Indian seam with the English seam attack. If Stokes maybe Archer or Wood were around, I think it would be a different case, but they weren't. And when you look at the Indian seam attack right now, Bumrah hits 90s. I think I just looked up the number of overs he's bowled. He's bowled about 150 to 152 overs, something around that. He has been the leader of the attack, but then 5th day, 4th test on the trot, still getting it up to 144. You saw the ball to Donny Bairstow. That was late swing. That was a tough ball to keep out. Johnny has played this before, but that was a tough ball. And so I think, really a lot goes down to Bumrah. I noticed, you had a tweet out there saying that Bumrah still's got a while to catch up to Kapil Dev, and he does. But the one thing that he has that Kapil doesn't, he's really got good support. You look at Shami, you look at Yadav, you look at Ishant, he's got really good support. But Bumrah has been amazing, and he does this for another 6 or 8 years. This is how good Kapil was, right? Bumrah needs to do the same thing for another 6 to 8 years, and he'll probably catch up then. But he's just been amazing. I was taking a look at since Bumrah debuted, who else has been as good as him? And you can look at a few people. So Broad was off on a tear, and he's sort of come down a bit of a notch. Cummins, Bumrah, and Rabada are the three topmost pacers, and they really are as good as it gets right now. You can probably put Anderson Broad right there along with them, but really, that's how good Bumrah has been.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about that. I mean, I love the fact that you've got a fan just above your head, Anand. You're like a fan badger with a fan hat. Raj is wearing the cricket badger logo right on his forehead at the moment. Do you want to come down a little bit, Raj, so we can see your lovely face? But Anand, the Kapil Dev, I mean, Kapil Dev 400 plus Test wickets. He was captain of the side. He was an all rounder as well, and he provided runs with the bat too. Jasprit Bumrah is undoubtedly probably as good with the ball as Kapil Dev, but he probably needs to, if he's going to be considered in the same bracket, as you said, Kapil Dev pretty much shouldered that pace attack on his own, whereas Jasprit Bumrah's got plenty of company at the moment in that Indian squad that can bowl the pace alongside of him. So Kapil Dev for me still is kind of over the hill and far away, and Jasprit Bumrah's still climbing that hill.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think Bumrah's got a while to go, but let's say Bumrah just now, I think, hit 101 wickets. Bumrah does this for let him get to about 350, 400. At that point, maybe Bumrah has a fair shot of getting there, but he has really been a revelation. I think in this attack, what he's done so far has been a revelation. I don't know that he's going to catch up to Kapil just yet, but there is a chance. He has been very, very good.
Raj Naman mentioned on our WhatsApp group earlier how he used to see Shardul Thakur on the train, covered in mud kind of thing, carrying his bag, just trying to slog it away as a kind of junior pro or whatever, making his way in the game. We talk a lot on the IPL days, don't we, about some of the rags to riches stories of some players that have really had to come from very humble beginnings to kind of get a leg up into the game, and obviously now are on very good money, and it's changed their lives. I mean, Jasprit Bumrah's one, isn't he? He comes from a single parent family, I think, and had to go through quite a humble upbringing, and he's now able to probably buy his mum quite a nice bungalow somewhere to live in. But Shardul Thakur in this Test match, he's kind of coming of age, isn't he, as a player? I mean, you look at him, he's kind of medium paced, dibbly dobbly, but he's taking wickets. He's a lower order hitter, really, with the bat, but he's performing, isn't he? When he gets the chance, he's performed.
Absolutely, and what Naman mentioned is a heartwarming story. These journeys like these, journeys of cricketers like these, makes it more special. Because Shardul Thakur comes from a very small village called Mahim in Palghar, which is say 80 kilometers away from the city of Mumbai. So he travels 100 kilometers one way daily just to have his training session in the grounds of Shivaji Park and sometimes at the Wankhede Stadium. So 100 kilometers one way, if you consider that journey, it's 200 kilometers a day where he just travels just to play his cricket. So that's the amount of dedication that Shardul Thakur has put in his cricket, over the years, and it's a heartwarming story to see, and it's amazing to see, he deliver for India. Coming into the Test match, Shardul Thakur also faced a lot of criticism because he kept Ravichandran Ashwin, the best spinner, out of this team. So that was also a big question mark on Shardul Thakur, the player, as well as Kohli, the captain. And Kohli would be a happier person now that he's had this out of his bag, that the criticism would lower down a bit, even though I would agree that the selection call was not the right one, but Shardul Thakur definitely lived up to the expectations of everybody, and he delivered. Like you said, medium pace, dibbly dobbly, he bowls at right channel and he makes things happen. Importantly, whenever he gets the ball, you get a feeling that Shardul Thakur is that kind of a bowler who would produce something out of nothing, and he does that regularly. And the innings that he played at Brisbane, was fantastic, where he got India right back in the game with Washington Sundar. And both the innings, the 50s that he, especially the first innings, the 50 that he played, kept India in the game. Otherwise, India around, say, maybe 100 all out or 110 all out, India would have been out of this game, just like Headingley in the first day itself. So Shardul was the one who kept India in this game, and this is why the Test match was it was played on the fifth day, where it was the deciding day, and complete hats off to him, to the way to perform like that under pressure. Hats off.
My OCD is getting the better of me here because I don't like the symmetry of our threesome. So I'm going to try and remove you both and bring you back in a different order. See if this works. Bear with me a second, fan badges out there. There we go. That's better because Anand's now underneath the fan badge, the cricket badger logo, and Raj is in the centre. That's much more pleasing to my eye. And we're going to get loads of messages today. I mean, we've got Ashutosh, who was already sending in his messages of celebration prior to us going live today. I'm not sure even how that's possible, but well done, Ashutosh, for doing that. But he came on with Indian bowler showed more skill than the English counterparts. Yes, massive lead, and the pressure helps. Lord Thakur is my man of the match, as Ashutosh. His batting saved the game for India. Otherwise, it could have been a repeat of Leeds. And that wicket of Root today, when everyone was talking about the new ball, was very, very important. And that's the case, Alan, isn't it? I mean, basically, Shardul Thakur, he performed at the right times, and that I mean, one of his nicknames, one of his many nicknames, it seemingly is Beefy. I mean, as right, Ian Botham used to do very similar things when I mean, this is kind of towards the end of his career when he'd lost a little bit of his pace. Just his presence and just his imagination and just his kind of will to win produce wickets out of nothing. And Shardul Thakur's got a little bit of that about him, hasn't he?
A little bit. I think Beefy would be a little upset that Thakur is getting compared to him. But look, he's had a great test match. And, we talked about him traveling from Palghar to Dadar, uh, which is where, he would do a lot of the training. It's not the 2 hours one way. It's also traveling in the Mumbai local trains. Raj probably knows it. I did it. Naman knows it. It is tough. If you're taking a whole kit and jumping in there, that is tough life. So, I mean, Thakur is ready to go. And you're right. I saw a little bit of Botham towards the end of his career. Botham looked like he liked to have some fun in life, liked a pint or two, and he wasn't the fittest. And you look at Thakur, he's not in the Virat Kohli camp of fitness, isn't he? But he does make things happen. Those shots are audacious. I mean, the ball that got Burns out was a really good ball. He
Let me
got the
ask
ball
you
to
about
nibble
that. I
away.
mean, Virat Kohli, a lot of talk about the way he's raised the standards, and there's a level now expected of the Indian players in terms of professionalism, in terms of fielding. But yeah, most commonly spoken about is the fitness requirements, Anand. And some of the players aren't necessarily as svelte as the others. I mean, Rohit's not exactly twiggy, is he? And Shardul Thakur's got a similar build. I mean, they're probably still very, very fit. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're fitter than I am. But is there some leeway given to some players?
Well, I think Rohit's been working on that quite a bit, and so is, from what I understand, so is Thakur. Thakur, when he first started playing cricket, actually was known to be overweight, and he's actually been working on that. So what you're seeing now is actually the improved version
So,
of Thakur.
so what we're saying is that if Virat can see that you're trying and you're heading in the right direction, then you're on board, and he's happy with that.
I think so, and part of it we could all blame some of the Mumbai food as well, because I know Rohit Sharma is a big vada pav connoisseur, which is basically a potato fritter in a piece of bread, which is a big Mumbai street food thing. And
Oh
Rohit has
wow,
always
that
mentioned that
sounds
that's his
very
thing.
bad for you, but very nice.
It's great. It is delicious. But when you think about all the carbs you're having, it's potatoes with bread. But I think there are a few people. I think Ravi Chandran Ashwin probably you can add, although he looks fitter. Shardul Thakur, Rohit Sharma are probably those 3 or 4 people who could probably get a little more fitter. But I know that Rohit works really hard at it. So does Shardul. And Ravi Chandran Ashwin is looking better and better. We had times when you would see him go into a test series and he would sort of have issues with his back or whatnot. I think he did in Australia as well, but he's looking fairly fit.
It's all that sitting in the stands, Anand, isn't it? It makes you fit, that doesn't it? Sitting and watching from the wings. I mean, it sounds like that food is the equivalent of an English chip butty to me.
There you go. Exactly
Yeah.
that. And I mean, when we think about it, I think wasn't Flintoff a great case of somebody who got fit as his career went on? And
Well,
look at Flintoff now; he
Flintoff
looks
now
great right now.
he presents TV programs in the UK. He looks better now than he did when he first came onto the scene as a player. It's ridiculous. Yeah, I think he goes to the gym every day these days and keeps himself in trim. I mean, getting back to the match, it's just been announced that Rohit Sharma was the man of the match. Shardul Thakur, Lord Thakur just probably gets the silver medal, I think, in that assessment. But Rohit's innings, Raj, the 127 in the second innings, I think that was the man of the match performance because he came through some difficult times against the new ball and he laid the foundation there that India then were able to propel themselves past England and set that lead that in the end proved the winning lead.
Absolutely, but it's a tough call to make. Even though I don't disagree with Rohit Sharma being the man of the match. It's definitely a tough call. I think it was a close call between Shardul Thakur and Rohit Sharma both. So either way, whoever would have won, I would have been happy. But I agree with you that Rohit Sharma's innings was maybe a little more crucial in the context of this Test match because India were trailing 99 after the first innings, and to overcome that deficit and to put up a target of 368, I think Rohit Sharma played a very crucial role. And in the first 3 days, I think it was a lot more overcast. It was day 4 and day 5 when the sun came out and it became easier to bat. So
Mm.
day 3, I think in the first half, the other half where Rohit Sharma and Rahul, steadied the ship. I think they were around 75 for no loss at one point. So that was a crucial point where India overcome the deficit of 99 and wanted to put a target on board. So Rohit Sharma was definitely phenomenal. And Anand was mentioning his numbers on the WhatsApp group the other day that ever since Rohit Sharma has started as an opener for India, he is possibly, I think, the world's best opener in world cricket at the moment. You always know that Rohit Sharma has had phenomenal success at home, where his record and average is maybe little over 90 or maybe 100. I don't know the exact figure, but overseas, it was a challenge for Rohit Sharma, and it was he would be happy that the monkey is off his back now, that he
Mm.
also has a test match century, especially in overseas conditions, and to do it against England, it's just perfect.
You should do the engraving down the local trophy shop, because the world's best cricketer, who was the best in the world or something, whatever you just said, you got world in about 3 times in that sentence. It made it sound even grander. But Anand, I mean what Raj just said there about the monkey off the back of not getting an overseas century. I mean, I looked at his stats overseas compared to domestic. He's averaging around about just under 80, I think, in Indian conditions. He was averaging less than 30 ahead of this Test match overseas. I mean, the disparity there is massive, isn't it? And it's always going to be, when people write about Rohit Sharma, that's always going to be mentioned at somewhere in the article, the fact that he struggles overseas, blah 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 blah. And he's gone some way to taking that sentence out the pieces now.
I think he has, and on this tour, you've seen him actually come out and combat that, right? So I think we saw that even in Australia in very challenging conditions, with that Australian pace attack being as good as it is, he managed to actually look very much at ease. He has made some changes to his technique. He usually would try to be beside the ball. Right now, you see him trying to cover the, come in line and try to play anything outside the line. He sort of lets go. I just feel that he has made some tweaks to his technique that really have helped him overseas. He's obviously going to do better in India just because his proficiency against spin, his proficiency of playing in the local conditions, but he has been very impressive. To me, I don't know whether there's a better opener right now across the world in all conditions than Rohit Sharma.
I think
This
I
is
think
a
I think England would take him, Anand. I think England would
oh,
take him.
absolutely, absolutely. Although to be honest, Hamid has done a decent job, and so has Burns.
I think Rohit and Hamid together would be quite a nice little opening partnership, wouldn't they?
It would be very good. Also, very graceful people. But can I present my counter argument to Lord Thakur? I think there is nobody else but him who should get the man of the match. Comes in 127 for 7, hits 57 runs in 36 balls. Sure, a lot of them were sort of fluky sort of runs, but come on, he pulled it off. If India were not at 191, how well are England poised to do in this Test match? I think Raj mentioned where they would be. Then in the bowling, he starts bowling in the first inning, and he gets who? Pope. What was Pope on? Pope was on 81. Now,
Mm.
granted, he fenced at a ball outside off stump and dragged it on, but again, Thakur made it happen. Second inning, 6 for 312. Kohli had just gotten out. At that point, England need what, 200 odd to win. Again, a good 60, and this time a more measured 60. Rohit has been amazing. This should be Thakur's man of the match. I don't know whether he could have a better match. I mentioned that yesterday. I don't think his relatives would predict that he would have this good a match. And then this doesn't finish his story. The last inning, he gets who out? Burns with the beauty, and Burns was what, 50 odd, and then who? Mr. Joe Root, the best batsman right now going around in the circuit. He gets Root out. Uh, and sure, again, maybe element of luck. Maybe Root just, kind of just, let his concentration go. But Thakur did it. There is nobody who should get the player of the match than Thakur. Nobody could have predicted this. I think he should get it. they have gotten this wrong. I love Rohit. Rohit's my boy. Rohit grew up where I grew up. He's from Borivali. He's my boy. But Thakur should get this.
I'll tell you what, that was a very passionate and convincing argument, but it's too late. They've already given it out to Rohit Sharma. Let's read Virat Kohli's comments after the match at the presentations. He basically says here, Raj, the character that the side has shown to come back from a 100-run deficit showed that we were not down and out. I said at Lords as well, I am proud of the character among the top three bowling performances I've witnessed. This is among the top three bowling performances I've witnessed as an Indian captain. It's relative and what you call flat. The field wasn't wet like the first 3 days. Ball got scuffed up nicely. One side heavier and exploited reverse swing perfectly. We believed as a team that we could get all 10 wickets. And he's a very positive chappy, isn't he, Virat Kohli? There are criticisms you can make of him that he is a little bit too emotive at times and temperamental and tempestuous and all of those kind of things. But I mean, part of that is quite endearing, I think, at times as well. The fact that he obviously lives and breathes every single ball is quite endearing. But as a captain, he drives that team. And obviously at the moment, India haven't got the 3/4 of their key coaching staff in the dressing room either. So yeah, Virat's role becomes even more pivotal. I mean, he will have had a massive part to play in what they've done today.
Definitely. And, he likes these words, intent and especially character. These are his two favorite words. But I agree with you, James, that, Virat Kohli has been pivotal of this side's success over the years, especially in the test circuit. Ever since he took over, I think after Anil Kumble is being sacked, the way Shastri and company have taken over this team, especially a lot of credit should go to Bharat Arun, the bowling coach, the kind of fast bowling contingent that he has produced along with Kohli. So the fitness standards that he has raised and the culture that he has brought in, especially in the interview with Dinesh Karthik before the series, you could see that Kohli talks a lot about.
That was a really good interview.
It was an interview. It was an interview of a man, who is passionate about Test cricket. It was an interview of a man, who loves this format the most. You can make out from his interview that this is the format that he wants to excel in and wants India to be best at. So he talks about important things like, team culture, pursuit of excellence, relentless madness. These were his exact words when he talked with Dinesh Karthik, and that's what this team portrays. When they are on the field. When he talks about character, I think what he mentions is that there was nothing on the pitch, so there was no demons at all. So what you need is at this time, you need strong character, to back up with your skills, where you have that self belief in you that you can definitely pick up 10 wickets in this dead rubber. So it's
do
that.
you think it helped, Raj, as well? I mean, today, obviously, day 5, the way they sell tickets in England is you sell days 1 to 4. Very few people buy a day 5 ticket, and often then, if it's got enough legs in day 5, you sell them on the gate in the morning, and then you get in for 20 quid, £15 or whatever. Today was full, and a lot of Indian fans and a lot of very vocal Indian fans in that ground. Do you think that would have helped the team?
Absolutely would have helped. And India is not short of support anywhere they play. So in that sense, the crowd is always.
It seemed to be more though today, more and more vocal, because a lot of people took advantage of the cheaper tickets and came along to see a day where India could easily win the match.
Yeah, that always helps. Reasonable ticket prices always helps. Sometimes, the 1K day, I've watched a lot of games of the 1K day as well, where, once you sell those tickets as a reasonable price, a lot of crowd will turn up to watch games. So that definitely helps. But again, this was definitely a cracker of a test match to watch going into the 5th day. India showed that conviction and spirit that they could turn this test match into their head, especially with Kohli's self-belief, which is he's instilled in his teammates, where you can come back when your chips are down. So India did this recently in the Border Gavaskar Trophy when they were all out for 36 and they went on to win the series. Then came in the England series where England had taken 1-0 lead at Chennai with Joe Root's century, and then thought India would possibly crumble, and they came back to win that series. Again, after Headingley Test, a lot of fans, would have written India off and saying that, they are getting maybe vibes of 2014 back and India would probably lose the series. I was also one of them. But again, India showed great character and spirit to fight back. So this is a hallmark of a great team. When chips are down, you come back stronger. Umesh Yadav, he's not played much cricket over the last 4 years. I think he just played one or two test matches at Australia. To come back and put that sort of performance after being sidelined for almost 4 years, being their regular backup bowler, speaks volumes of this team.
Yeah, 6 wickets for Umesh in this test match. Just looking at some of the notes that are coming through off the back of the test, and going back to the man of the match, which you've already done a big rant on, but apparently Jasprit Bumrah was probably more in the equation for the selection panel than your boy Shardul. So I think Rohit was the right choice. But getting back to Virat, I get the impression with Virat Kohli, he's obviously very driven, isn't he? And it's almost like I kind of picture him when he takes on the captaincy of India. He's got two columns. He writes down what he wants his team to be and how he wants them to play and what Virat Kohli side is going to look like and represent. And then he's got his kind of objectives in the right hand column, and he's ticking them off. Winning in Australia, doing X, Y, Z. Winning in England, I think, would have been quite high up on his wish list because obviously India haven't won on these shores for quite some time. Obviously, still one test away from doing it, but taking a 2-1 lead to Old Trafford, Virat Kohli is not too far away from putting a line through that and a big tick on the end, isn't he?
Absolutely. And, I was taking a look at how well have India done overseas. And taking a look at that, India have sort of, tamed the Australia, right? With 2 series wins, you feel that things are sort of, at an even keel there. Now you look at, okay, where have India not done so well? And England's right there. So India, before this test, had played 66 matches in England and won 8. So, and when you look at the 8, it also is, there was a foundational win in, I think, 1971 with Ajit Wadekar at the Oval. And then you had 2 wins in 1986, all before our time. But, after that, you saw, okay, a win in 2002, the infamous Jellygate in 2007. And I think that was a 1-0 win. And then you had a couple of tests in 2014 and 2018 that India won. So this was actually pretty integral to what India wants to accomplish, to what Kohli wants to accomplish. The man is very driven. He has definitely put this out saying, this is the series, we got to give an even fight to. We have to take this while we have a chance. And this is just, I think, what you're seeing right now is that culmination of what Kohli has done. As a captain, he has driven the team forward. With sort of his sort of vigor, his sort of intensity, right? And
if you're a player, if you're a lazy player in that Indian side, you're not going to last very long, are you? Because you're initially going to get the Kohli glare, then you're going to get a little bit of that off the skipper, and then it's going to be down the road, isn't it?
Yeah, you take the good with the bad, but that intensity helps, doesn't it? I think Kohli.
But that's a good thing, having those standards. If you're playing for your country and you walk into, you put the shirt on and you walk into that international dressing room, there should be standards, shouldn't there?
There should be, and there definitely should be, and Kohli does that. And also, I think there's a counter argument there as well. There are a couple of folks within the team who are pretty chill. So if you look at Rahane, very calm individual. You look at Rohit. Rohit's got the typical Bombay attitude. Yeah, it's okay. We'll get it. So, I think you get the yin with the yang. Kohli with all the intensity, but you have Rahane and Rohit who are very, when you look at the team dynamic, they are the leaders out there, and they're sort of, chill individuals. And I think this sort of works very well. You don't want all intensity, as we've been seeing with, maybe a little bit Justin Langer, right? That sort of that intensity sometimes can also hurt you when you're not doing so well. You need to figure that out. And I think this team has gotten to a point where, everything's sort of figured out. You got Shastri and Kohli with all the intensity. You got Bharat Arun, even within the coaches, you see people who are sort of relaxed individuals. And you see it in the team too. Bumrah, I would think, is the leader of the attack. Again, a calm individual. So I think it sort of works. You take Kohli, Siraj probably are together, buddies. Both have that intensity. And Bumrah is sort of cool with the Rahanians and Rohit. So I think it works out well.
I noticed yesterday when Virat got out, he was really cross with himself and he stomped off, and you could see him disappear off into the changing room, punching the door as he went in. And you can imagine the carnage that was inside that dressing room. And if you're an Indian player, you make yourself scarce, I think, when Virat walks in like that. But within sort of 40 minutes, a massive smile on his face. He goes from, his sways of emotion are just ridiculous. The contrast from the high Virat to the low Virat is quite a big benchmark. But let's have a look at the Indian response, the English response to the defeat today. Joe Root saying, frustrating not to get something from the game today. We felt we had an opportunity to win, but credit to India. They got the ball to reverse and that was the turning point. Could have made more of a first innings lead, and you have to make chances count against world-class players. Got to find ways to get better, but be realistic and realise that was world-class bowling. It might reverse OT, and we'll have to manage that better. Whenever you lose the game, you can look at the toss, but we've got to be more ruthless and make that a 200 lead. Got to be clinical, not be comfy, make big partnerships. We've played good cricket, and important to remember that. I mean, Mark on our WhatsApp group, Raj, is saying that India have been head and shoulders the best team in this series. And I totally agree. I think India have been the best team and deserve to be ahead in this series at this juncture. I don't think it's been as cut and dry as he suggested, though. I think for a lot of these test matches, for 85% of the way, it's been very nip and tuck. England have nosed ahead, India have come back. It's been very seesaw. But then on 2 occasions, India have won the very crucial passages of play.
I think so too. I think it has been a close encounter, and it's been, like you suggested, it's been very, very close. India has just grabbed those key moments, especially the crunch situations, where they have upped England over. But other than that, it has been a close contest.
In a way, it's a little bit, before the series started, we were kind of harking back to the 4-1 England success last time and saying that was actually a very close series, and the scoreline didn't really suggest how close the tests are. I'd suggest this is the same in reverse almost.
Absolutely. And, India, I think, James, before the series started, you mentioned that, India is definitely vulnerable in these conditions, especially their batters. So that's something which, England would have looked to exploit over the series, and they have done well, especially the likes of Ollie Robinson and James Anderson. They've got the ball talking, and India has been trouble in most of the times. In this test match also, 191 all out in the first innings, you would definitely put England on the driver's seat, after the first innings. Just for England to have a 99-run lead. I think that is where, Joe Root is mentioning that maybe next test, they should extend the lead from 99 to 200. That should be the focus.
I think there were a few little moments in this test match where England maybe just let it go a little bit. I think with the bat and the lead could have been lengthened. With the ball in the second innings, when Thakur and Pant came together, the lead actually wasn't that substantial, and that partnership was massive, wasn't it? Because it took what was a potentially gettable chase in the fourth innings away from England, I think, and made it a little bit too insurmountable.
No, absolutely. I actually agree with both of you guys. I think it's been a very close series.
There's too much agreement on this podcast today, isn't there?
Well, I mean, it only makes sense. You look at England playing in England, home conditions, you always give the home team an advantage just because the players are so much used to, playing in these conditions. You look at Anderson in these conditions. Has there been a better bowler than Anderson? Right. And then you look at Robinson again in the similar sort of mold. I'm not going to put him in Anderson's quality just yet, but he has been a revelation this series, right? I think where England has maybe missed out a little is if you had Jofra Archer available. Jofra Archer on this pitch with that extra pace, I think he's a point of difference. I think maybe a little bit of Mark Wood too.
On that, Raj, we've talked about in India winning in Australia. I think it's Anand or Neil always says there's an asterisk against that first victory down under because Warner and Smith weren't available. And then the second victory is obviously bona fide and probably even more impressive because it was the reserve team almost that got India across the line in that series. Is there a little bit of an asterisk? I'm not making excuses, but is there a little bit of an asterisk in this series that Jofra's not available, Ben Stokes isn't around, Broad wasn't available because they're injured, Ollie Stone even. There's a number of England's frontline attack who are not playing in this series that, you never know how it's going to work, but they could have made a difference. Ben Stokes certainly would have added balance and made the selection for England easier in this test series.
A little bit. I would definitely say that, even Archer or Wood or Broad would have played. I think the result would have been same, but Ben Stokes is a massive hole in this England setup. He changes the balance totally differently. And especially in the first 3 tests, England clearly missed Ben Stokes, their fourth bowler or their third bowler, because Ben Stokes as a third or a fourth bowler is exceptional in these conditions. He gets the ball talking, and we know how good a batsman that he is. Also
he plays that Siraj kind of role, doesn't it? That we need a couple of wickets, Ben. Give me 5 overs and see what you can do. Yeah.
Especially in these conditions, as a third bowler or fourth bowler, you need to have excellent amount of control to make sure that the opposition is under pressure. And I think Sam Curran was not able to deliver that in the first few tests. And even Overton, was good in patches today in this test match, but he was definitely not Ben Stokes level, where Ben Stokes, could make the ball move both ways. And, his batting is a huge bonus as well. So definitely India had this advantage going into the series that, Ben Stokes is not going to be a part of this series. So they had an amazing chance to win this series. So there will be that slight thing, but nevertheless, England has an amazing attack. Chris Wokes is an amazing player to have, who has similar characteristics that of Ben Stokes, who is an excellent in these conditions as well. So in that sense, going down the line, 3 years down the line, if you would ask that India won a test series in England, nobody would remember that, Ben Stokes was not part of this test series, and they would take this win.
I mean, kind of flipping it over, Anand, there. Would it be even more of a disappointment for India not to win this series, knowing that England are maybe a little bit vulnerable, missing a couple of key players?
I think apart from looking at England, you would also look at the Indian cricket team, right? So this is the team with you have the most amount of, you know, everybody was sort of fit before this series. You're looking at the pace attack, you're looking at the spin attack, you're looking at the batsmen. Even though a couple of the batsmen, cough Rahane, haven't done so well, everybody else has been there. You would expect this team to do well, irrespective of who you put out there. I actually disagree with anybody who says that the first Australia series was that anything took the sheen off there just because Warner and Smith weren't there. You play the opponents who are on the field. This is not controlled by India. So I think you get as much credit as you should for going to Australia and winning, and you get
Everything,
a lot.
everything else in cricket is controlled by India, Anand, but maybe not that.
Maybe not that one thing is not controlled by BCCI. So I would give Indian team a lot of credit, whether Warner and Smith were not there in Australia, or if Stokes and Broad have been injured, or Stokes taking a bit of a break. This is England has historically been really tough to get through, and this actually kind of just shows. So to me, these two tests have been great. Obviously, we have one more test to go, but this has been a great performance. It does not take the sheen off that Archer's not there, Stokes is not there. If we look to the previous series, Sam Curran played. Sam Curran was the point of difference. So credit to India to kind of play Sam Curran better, maybe bowl better to him as well. So
very quickly before we finish off today, gentlemen, one test to go. So celebrations are premature, Raj, aren't they? From an Indian perspective, this series is not won yet.
Definitely. And, after the Lord's win, we all as Indian fans thought, India would just roll through England at Headingley. But,
Right, I've got a theory. It doesn't bear up by it. Actual cold hard facts don't bear this up, but just as like a gut feel from thinking back over time, when England are down, that's when they're most dangerous. The next test match, England often win it.
Absolutely, but same is the case with the Indian team as well. When they are down, they've come back brilliantly in the last few series. And Kohli and the management especially would be wary of the fact that this is the best chance now to win a test series in England. 2-1 up, just the final test to go. I think they would go for the kill, and they would not be as complacent as they were at Headingley in the first innings.
As you see it, Anand, do you see any major changes to this Indian side? Does Ashwin come in at Old Trafford? I mean, just looking at the forecast, people keep talking about the fact there's rain around. Certainly on day one, there's a little bit of rain, potentially all day. But I think then it finds up a little bit. I don't think it's necessarily going to be a rain-ruined test match. There's definitely a result possible.
Well, so I think it really depends on the pitch, right? I think India has gotten bitten before by announcing the team a couple of days before the test, and you see that it's a green pitch, and you got to figure out how to deal with it later. So I think you look at the pitch and then figure out, are there anybody who are there any players who may not be part of the 11? Question is, Bumrah has played 4 straight tests, has bowled 150 overs. Should he get a rest? We know that Shami got a bit of a rest, so does Shami come back in? Also, what happens to little Lord? Does Lord Shardul get dropped after this performance?
Well, surely he stays in London at the House of Lords, doesn't he?
I mean, he really should. He should. I mean, this is a great time. If if the Lord wants to consider this, hey, let's retire right now. This is the best. Nobody can do this. Take 3 wickets, 250s, change the match. But where does Ashwin come in? What happens to some of the other players? Pujara with that ankle, Rohit with the knee. I think there's a few things to figure out. Depending on the pitch, I really would like Ashwin to come in. But I think we across the across all of the cricket badgers, we always talk about getting Ashwin in. It just depends what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating. I think there's a few potential changes in the England side as well. Jimmy Anderson's looked tired during this Test match. Ollie Robinson, even I think, is maybe just running out a little bit of steam as we head towards Manchester. I think Mark Wood will come in, and it'll be interesting to see how they change. I mean, Josh Butler allegedly is available again after the birth of his daughters. So whether they bring him back in and give him the gloves, whether they keep it with Johnny, we'll see. But that's going to be talked about on future shows as we go through the week, as we look ahead to what is going to be a terrific finale to a terrific series. It's been fantastic Test match, this one. 5 days of engrossing cricket. It has tossed and turned in terms of who's been on top, and I think the best team in the end won. So congratulations to you two, Raj and Anand. Not that you did anything at all, but congratulations in your guys as Indian fan badges, winning by 157 runs at the Oval. And we'll look ahead to the fifth and final Test match when we join you again tomorrow. Been great stuff. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for watching on the live broadcast. And if you're listening later, thanks for your ears on the audio version as well. I've been James the Cricket Badger, and we will see you again tomorrow.